Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope the weekend is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you as always for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Right, plenty to talk about today still, even though we are it was 7 days ago now, Arsenal bringing the curtain down on their Premier League season. There's still been plenty to talk about in the days preceding that game at Southampton. There's still plenty to talk about today. So we'll get stuck into that. I am going to talk about the Champions League final as well, which of course was last night and which was pretty brutal from an Inter Milan point of view. It was pretty special from a PSG point of view. So we'll give my thoughts on that as well. We're going to talk about Rodrygo and reports from Real Madrid about the latest surrounding his future. We're going to talk about Joan Garcia, who appears to be heading towards Barcelona. What does that mean for Arsenal in the goalkeeper hunt? We'll talk about that. Raheem Sterling, we'll talk about him. Looks like he's going to be tied to Arsenal for longer than just the year that we all thought it was going to be. Got some questions and comments and everything like that to talk about as well. But we're going to start with the Champions League final. So PSG, the team that beat Arsenal in the semi-final, win the competition, and they win it in unbelievable style last night in Munich. Absolutely battering Inter Milan. There's no other word you can really use to describe that. It was a humiliating night for Inter. 5-0. They were beaten. PSG were brilliant from the first few minutes onwards. Absolutely destroyed Milan with their brand of exciting, attacking, fast football, the movement, the pace. It was just too much for an Inter Milan team who I actually thought, and I was talking, loads of us were on the Inside Arsenal Discord chat last night, sort of while we were watching the game, discussing it, and before the game we were talking about it. And the Discord is available to my Patreon members. So if you sign up to Patreon, then you get access to the Discord, and there's really good community growing in there now. And it was really fun yesterday watching and talking about the game with you. And I said before, I was like, yeah, I think PSG will probably edge it, but I wouldn't be shocked if Inter Milan just found a way to win, kind of like they did against Barcelona, because this is, they're sort of a last dance for a lot of these players, and that will to win would be really, really fierce for them. But yeah, absolutely did not. They couldn't stay in the game at all. They were absolutely blown away by PSG. They were deserving champions. They're the best team in the tournament from the knockout stages onwards, obviously beating 3 English teams along the way, beating Liverpool, beating Villa, beating Arsenal, and then comfortably beating Inter Milan. So no one can complain about who the deserving winners of this tournament are. The best team in it in the knockout stages anyway have gone on to win. From an Arsenal point of view, there was a lot of regret watching that final yesterday because we were so close against PSG. Comfortably, well, not comfortably, but could easily have gone through over the 180 minutes when you look at the games, the chances that Arsenal missed, and the big moments in that game. They went into Milan's way thanks to their goalkeeper. Donnarumma was unbelievable over the 2 legs, stepped up when his team needed him, and that helped them get through to the final. I think they probably edged it, PSG, just over the 180 minutes, but it was really, really close, and some big moments had gone Arsenal's way. Then they could have easily been in that final, but it wasn't beat to go. You look at the XG. I think Inter Milan have lost a game on XG 6 times. I said PSG have lost a game on XG 6 times this season, all competition. 3 of those were against Arsenal, 2 in the semi-final and 1 in the group stage as well. So, Arsenal performed very well against this team, who are the best team in Europe right now. So I think there was a bit of regret watching it yesterday, thinking, oh God, if we were in the final, we'd have beaten this Inter Milan team. We're absolutely sure of it. But you can't complain. Yeah, PSG are absolutely deserving winners. Lots of you are getting in touch. Sean said, how poor were Inter last night, Charles? Played like they didn't deserve to be there. If only we had our shooting boots on against PSG in the semis, we would have hammered that Inter team. It was exactly what I'm saying. Sitting there watching it with regret, just thinking we would have, would Inter have played differently against Arsenal? Maybe so. It is all hypothetical, obviously. But if they'd have put in that similar sort of performance they did last night when they were just all over the place, I don't know if I can't imagine they were overawed because they're such an experienced old team. I just felt they just looked like an old team against really young legs. It was just as simple as that. They just couldn't keep up with what PSG were doing to them, and it was a perfect performance from PSG. You don't get performances like that in finals too often. They were absolutely brilliant in all aspects yesterday. PSG. Am says Barcola to Arsenal. Kvaratskhelia plays in his position. He's been wasted on the bench at PSG. If we can't get Rodrygo, he would be a great alternative. I certainly wouldn't say no to Barcola. Absolutely. I can't believe he missed that chance yesterday in the second half. It would have been a goal for the ages. It would have been replayed over and over again, the way he sat the defender down. I don't know. Why are you going for the near post there? He had the whole of the far post just to roll it into. And he tried to drag it into the near post and missed it. He'll be so gutted about that. But I wouldn't say no to Barcola. The I keep seeing him miss big chances, including against Arsenal, whenever I watch him. So he'd need to sort that out. But I certainly wouldn't say no to him. He's an exciting talent. I can't imagine he's going to be leaving PSG this summer at all, though. So yeah, deserving winners. They do make me feel a little bit cold, though, PSG. Kind of like Manchester City do. I mean, at the end of the day, it is state-owned. They've got the highest wage bill in world football by a distance. I know they've got a young team now. They've gone away from the whole sort of Galacticos type, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, but they've still got the biggest wage bill in world football. They're in a position because of it, they've got unlimited resources to do whatever they want. The Kvaratskhelia deal, which I know the transfer fee wasn't huge, but it was just, the wages would have been unbelievable to get him there. So no one else really had an opportunity to get Kvaratskhelia. PSG had that wrapped up for a long, long time because of the money they spent. So, there is absolutely no competitiveness in France league now because PSG are just, the resources are just so vast. They can cherry pick players like Doué off people, no problem in France now. There's no competitive edge there, so they could focus on Europe completely this season because they'd won the league by 20 odd points. They do make me feel a little bit cold. The way the state ownership and everything like that, I can't ignore that. I do like the football they play now. It's brilliant. I think Luis Enrique is a fantastic coach. I think the team that they've amassed now is fantastic and they play wonderful football. But they are still PSG. They are still state owned and have all the issues that come with that as well. So they do make me feel a little bit cold. As much as I loved seeing Luis Enrique celebrate yesterday, and the whole story is sort of great for him. Everything that he's gone through, the pain that he's gone through, the suffering that he's gone through, to come back to win like this. You can see the emotion there, the tifo from the fans of Enrique and his daughter was just brilliant, fantastic. Great story. So that side of it, I really, really enjoyed. But there's sort of, I can't forget the ownership of PSG and how that club operates and how it's got to the top and how it's just changed the landscape of football like all the other state-owned clubs as well. So I can't forget that side of things. But from a football point of view, I thought they were absolutely excellent last night, deserving winners. So I've just realised I've rattled on about the Champions League final for probably too long. So if you are still watching, let's move on to some Arsenal-based stuff now. Now, Rodrygo, obviously a player who's been heavily linked with Arsenal in the last, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is. Arsenal said to be one of the clubs interested in Rodrygo if, and it's always been a big if, that Real Madrid decide to put him potentially on the market, and if Rodrygo would actually want to leave Madrid in the first place as well. So we've kind of been waiting now. They've got the Club World Cup coming up, which Rodrygo is obviously going to be a part of. Finished the season out of the team at Madrid, kind of with an injury. It was sort of described as an injury, but it was never revealed what the injury was. So there was speculation about whether his head was in the right place after losing his place in the team, all that sort of stuff. But he will go to the Club World Cup with Madrid. So it'll be interesting to see how much he plays during that tournament. But reports in Spain are now saying that the latest revolving around his future is that he has told Madrid that he wants to stay, that he does not want to go this summer, but that Madrid are going to spend the next sort of month, 5 weeks, so the Club World Cup, basically sort of looking at the situation and working out exactly what they want to do with Rodrygo. My fear over the whole Rodrygo thing, and I've said before, I would love Rodrygo at Arsenal. If that opportunity arises and you haven't gone and strengthened in the area, left wing area already, then I think you have to look at it. But my fear of Rodrygo is something that ends up dragging on a long time through the summer. Is he going to go? Isn't he going to go? And by the time maybe a final decision is reached, you're well down into the summer transfer window and you haven't got anyone else in at that point on the left-hand side. And then suddenly he stays and you're left scrambling around again towards the end. So that'd be my big fear of this. Just the fact that now apparently he has said he wants to stay and everyone's going to wait until after the Club World Cup to see what happens. It just feels like there is a sense that something might drag on for me. And we know Arsenal are looking at other players in that position as well. So that would be my fear with Rodrygo, is that it starts dragging on. But certainly the latest from Spain is that he has told Madrid that he does not want to move in this summer and that his priority is to stay, to fight for his place in the team under Xabi Alonso and to try and win his place back in the team as well. So that's the latest on Rodrygo. Staying in Spain, we will talk about Juan Garcia now. Obviously, a long-term Arsenal target player. They tried to sign last summer, couldn't get the deal done, ended up staying. They went and signed Neto on loan, but the hope was they were going to get him again this summer. But obviously, he's had a fantastic season in Spain. Lots of interest in him now from other Premier League clubs, but it looks like Barcelona are going to sign him. Fabrizio Romano tweeting yesterday that the agreement now over a long-term deal is very advanced, almost done. negotiations are underway with the Spanish goalkeeper, and Barcelona are confident to get the green light in the coming days. Barca want to get it done as soon as possible and anticipate Premier League clubs coming in for him. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting what Arsenal do now. The Garcia thing, in my mind, but I think not just my mind, but a lot of people's minds is, do you really need to spend 25 million on a backup goalkeeper, which is very much what he would be here? And I can understand, I was going to say I can understand his thinking in, he's had such a breakout season in Spain, been so good, got such big reports. You know, he was named goalkeeper of the year, I think, in Spain. You're not going to come and then be second choice and just scramble around getting a few FA Cup games and Carabao Cup games at Arsenal, are you? So it was always going to be a tough sell after the season that he's had. I do wonder if he's going to play at Barcelona. They've still got Ter Stegen, obviously. Szczesny's just signed a new deal. Had a very good end to the season with them last season. So is Garcia, you'd imagine he's going to start, but maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Or you've also got the Espanyol to Barcelona thing to consider. So that's not going to go down very well from Espanyol. But he gave that interview not so long ago where he said that he could see himself playing for another La Liga club. I think that kind of started to set the wheels in motion a little bit. Certainly for me, I thought, oh, he's laying the foundations there for a move to Barcelona. So it'll be interesting to see what Arsenal do. Do you really need to invest? Because we know number one is David Raya. So that's fine. You've got Carl Hein, who's coming back, who had played for a poor team in Spain, but had a good season playing week in, week out. Do you have your number two already there? I keep thinking of it. Do you need to spend 25 million? If you spend big and get a real top quality second choice keeper that maybe you view as a long-term number one, then that's fine, as long as it doesn't interfere with other transfer dealings. And that was always my worry about Garcia. Would 25 million now, especially for a release clause, impact this summer's transfer dealings in other more areas that I feel anyway there should be more priority? So it's going to be interesting to see what Arsenal do now, how they pivot in terms of their goalkeeping situation if Garcia does indeed end up at Espanyol. There was lots of debate on it yesterday. I saw on the Discord channel actually, and just on my social media as well, on my timeline popping up about the number two. It's very, very split. There are some like, we should have got Garcia, should have got it wrapped up last summer. And I think they probably should have done. You know, they've mucked around all summer last summer with Garcia. They knew what the release clause was. They thought at the end they could get him without paying that release clause. Espanyol were like, no. And then Arsenal were like, oh God, what do we got to do right at the end? Edu went out and just called his mate up and got Neto in at the end. So there was a big breakdown in communication there at some point last summer, and it really backfired because Garcia was there to be got. And whether it was Inaki Kana, Mikel Arteta, Edu, whatever, however that sort of decision was made to wait and put all the eggs in Garcia basket and wait and try and get him at the end of the window and fail. That's kind of messed things up a little bit because you could have got the keeper then that you really wanted. You didn't. Now you've missed out. And now you're left scrambling around again this summer for another goalkeeper who's not your first choice option. So again, last summer's window, the more you look back on it, you just think, oh God, it really did not work out too well for Arsenal. Okay, Raheem Sterling, as I said at the start, is going to be tied to Arsenal for far longer than just a 1-year loan deal. He's now finished or completed, and he's heading back to Chelsea because his son has signed for Arsenal. Look at that picture if you're watching on YouTube. Look at very proud parents there sitting with Thiago Sterling, just signed for the under-9s. Seen loads of headlines doing the rounds about this. Sterling signs for Arsenal, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I love this. I just think it's great. And the pictures are really, really good as well. You can imagine how proud that is for the parent, not just for Sterling, for every parent who signs. The fact that the club seem to do this now for really sort of young age groups, these sort of signing events. I just think it looks really, really good. There's loads of great pictures doing around of it. So yeah, he's gone in the youngest age group, the under-9, signed as an 8-year-old. So yeah, I've got Raheem Sterling's son. I'm trying to think other former Arsenal players. Jeremy Aliadier's son has been progressing really well through the academy. He's I think he's probably about under 15, under 16 age now, doing really, really well. Perez's kid used to play for the academy, but I haven't heard anything more about that for a while now. But his kid was in the academy at some stage, so maybe he's gone. But certainly Aliadier and now Sterling when it comes to former Arsenal players with kids coming through the academy. So congratulations to Thiago, Raheem, and everyone in the family for that one. Very proud moment, I am sure. And here's Dominic saying, just had some fun on WhatsApp by putting a message in that Sterling was signing on a permanent. I left out the fact that it was Thiago, Raheem's son, who's joining under nines. But in all seriousness, hopefully Thiago will enjoy himself at that age. Enjoyment and development are the two things you want to see. Absolutely, Dominic. Couldn't agree more. Right, we've got Carl here on the Inside Arsenal Discord, which is, again, available for Patreon members. You can sign up in the description below to be a part of that. Says, hi, Charles. Do you think Mikel Arteta will be adding to his coaching staff at all for next season? We seem to have gone a bit predictable tactically and wonder if part of that is due to the fact we've had the same coaching team for a while now. Maybe a fresh voice can help bring something different to freshen it up. I haven't heard that something like this might happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did. Hasn't really been too much of a change in the first team since Steve Round left, but there wasn't a new guy who really came in when Steve Round left because they wanted to promote everyone. You have Miguel Molina's, Carlos Cuesta's, promote those lot up a level, and everyone has re-signed recently, so no one's leaving out of that current group. Unless someone comes in and cherry picks one and offers them a big job somewhere else. So they've all signed new contracts. So I don't think anyone's going. Whether they decide to freshen it up and bring someone in, I don't know. I haven't heard at this point, but it could happen at any moment, obviously. I think it's a good idea. I think it is very important to shake things up every now and again. We've just seen Pep Guardiola who's bringing in Linders, isn't he? The ex-Liverpool coach is joining his coaching staff this summer. Kolo Touré as well, by all accounts as well. So I would not be against it at all. I think it would be really, really interesting to do that. And I think it's good for the players sometimes to get a little bit of a different voice around the place at some point. But I have to admit, Carl, I haven't heard yet if there are plans to bring anyone in. But I certainly don't think anyone is leaving because they have all signed new contracts. Manjun on the Discord says, hi, Charles. Have you heard any news on the fate of the loan players who will return this summer? Do you see any of Nelson, Hine, Vieira or Sambi being reintegrated into the squad this pre-season, or is the aim to sell them? With all the injuries we faced last year, I wouldn't be opposed to keeping Hine, Nelson and Vieira, but interested to hear your thoughts. I think all will be available to leave. Apart from Carl Hine, I think that situation, because of what's going on with the goalkeeper, is very much up in the air. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Nelson, Vieira and Sambi start pre-season with the squad. But, you know, I don't think they're part of the long-term plans. You know, Nelson's only got 1 year left of his contract, so they'll definitely try to sell him. You know, I can't see Vieira being back and part of it. They weren't ready to cut ties with Vieira last summer, which is why the loan to Porto didn't have any sort of agreement or clause to turn that into a permanent deal at the end of it. I don't think Porto would have taken it up anyway, even if they did. But the fact that Arsenal didn't insert that, you know, was a clear sign that they weren't ready to completely cut ties with Fabio Vieira. They're going to wait until this summer and make another decision. But I think because of the way the loan went, it wasn't fantastic. I just feel they'll look to try and move him on and get some money if they possibly can for him. I think the same with Sambi. I mean, Sambi gave that interview with Simon Collins in the Standard last week, and he basically said, look, it's time for him to go. He needs to settle down now. He doesn't want to keep going on loan. He's only got a year left on the contract. Arsenal took up the option to extend it by another 12 months. So he's got 1 year left now, and they'll try and get some money in for him. So no, I don't think anyone of the loan players are going to come back and be a part of the squad next season. I think the plan for Arsenal will certainly be to try and move them on and get some money in. The Gunner Ryan has now got in touch, and he says, hi, Charles. I mentioned it in the last video, and I'll mention it again because nobody else seems to remember. But the 50-50 transfer that springs to mind is Zaha and Pepe. Now, this is in response to what we were talking about a couple of days ago, and we were saying, Gyökeres, Sesko, has there ever been a summer where a transfer sort of saga has centered so heavily around two players into one position, so one or the other? And you're right, this was the only difference with this was Pepe, and I remember this deal very, very well, that Pepe, for the first part of the summer, he had been linked, obviously, with lots and lots of clubs, but I never felt that was going to happen at all because I was always told it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Like we got such mixed messages over Pepe that summer, and then suddenly Arsenal pulled the trigger and did it, and it was a real surprise. And so, but you are right. That was very much a summer where it could be Zaha, it could be Pepe. So much because basically the manager wanted Zaha and the club wanted Pepe. And we know that the club got that very, very wrong, and they should have listened to Unai, and they didn't. But yeah, you're right. That is definitely one of the sort of 50-50 sagas, quite similar to this one in terms of Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko. Right, that's it from me today, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and for listening, of course, on the podcast. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.